Hello, and in today's chat, I'm going to be talking about the question, why do I only show expensive motorhomes and not, and to quote the person who left the comment, cheap two-seater vehicles? Well, I can recall when Jeremy Clarkson was asked the very same question on Top Gear, and he sort of made a joke about it, that obviously they're going to show sort of super vehicles and not the everyday things that people normally drive. Obviously, Top Gear is a program largely about escapism, and so that, I think, is what they wanted to achieve with that. As far as what I'm doing, and I do appreciate that for many people it may be sort of escapism to see the very expensive motorhomes, but I can that isn't the objective of what I'm doing. The thing I would have to state is that if I show motorhomes, I'm showing the ones which are available. I'm not deliberately ignoring cheap vehicles, because there's no such thing as a cheap RV. If I see somebody who's built a van and they'd spent €1,000 doing it, I would show it. But the thing is, I don't really come across these things at all. I show people what is available. There is no such thing as a cheap RV at all. And if you just think of the costs involved. Now, frequently, every single day, somebody writes the comment, that van is not worth it. Well, the mere fact that people are paying this type of money, whatever it may be, and they have huge, long waiting lists, waiting times, shows quite clearly that the vehicle is worth it. And the idea of value is based on what one person is prepared to pay for one object, and this goes across the board and in everything. Supply and demand, that is what determines prices. Now, when people sort of say, "I'll buy it if it's only worth, I don't know, 30,000 or something like that," when the base vehicle alone probably would cost around that amount. I think that many people may not realize how much costs the things which actually go into these vehicles. You know, an RV fridge doesn't cost the same as a fridge that you may have in your house. A toilet certainly doesn't, and the interior fittings are more expensive. Well, you can say, well, why can't we get domestic fittings or something like that? Well, in your house, then you don't really need lightweight things, whereas in an RV you absolutely do. Another thing that people don't seem to consider is the cost of labor to actually produce these things. This is a very labor intensive. It's not like a car factory where you've got these robots doing all the work. This is largely something which is done by hand. Robots aren't putting the kitchen in or putting the toilet in or the chairs or anything like that. Sure, you've got CNC equipment for making the furniture and all the rest of it, which makes it a lot easier than it was years ago to build these things. But it's not, it still has to be done by hand. And once more, fact that most RV, if not all RV companies that I know of, have problems finding labor. All of them are looking for people to work. I've said to companies, instead of having 2 shifts, why don't you have 3? You could even have 4. There's 168 hours in the week, so I mean, therefore you could have 42 hours times 4, or even 40 hours with breaks in the middle. You could have 35 with breaks in the middle. But it's not a realistic proposition because they can't find the labor. So that's the reason, and that is also the reason why there is such long waiting times for vehicles. Particularly, incidentally, since we've had this corona or COVID pause, expression I've just made up. I think I might use that again. And when this has upset the distribution and supply networks. So, to come back to the question, is it worth it? Well, possibly is. It might be worth it to you, but it may be worth it to somebody else. Bear in mind, at the end of the day, motorhomes are highly individual. Everybody is different. It's not like buying a car when there are hundreds of thousands of one type of car on the road. Motorhomes, small numbers, highly individualistic, and the price reflects that. Thanks for listening.